obvious place. So every bar clamp now has a doc directory, and that doc directory reflects the documentation gets rolled into the Crowbar docs for that. We really want to encourage everybody to be building documentation as they go, and then updating documentation when they see an issue. So I'm going to take a second just to show that, what that looks like. In the Crowbar repo is there's a doc directory, and then there's a whole bunch of information. These are the placeholder stubs for all the other documentation books. If you were to go to the bar clamp Crowbar, in the same path you're going to see a similar set of books, except in this case this is where the most of the dev guide work is. So if you were interested in the API documentation, you would find it. It's all marked down, so it all renders very nicely in here. And then the goal is as things change and as we improve, we can add to it. So the user guide, same thing. The other change, and there's a card for this, is that if there's images, this was actually done in dev guide model. In the model, there's actually a copy of the model, and so all those things are now this would then render in the help system for Crowbar correctly, which is another card. Should have been. Here it is. No, I should have made a card for it. I didn't. Questions? Cool. Andy, are you on? No. Okay. Oh. No worries. You want to talk about the externalizing credentials quickly? It ends up. So this work ends up being intertwined with install and also with some of the gem dependency resolution that we've been talking through, because we're moving chef gems into the chef bar clamp. So that all gets tied in. We renamed CMDB to Jig. That's been pretty painless for the most part, and I think it's been helped with clarity, so that's continuing. There's a dev view graph of the bar clamp. Hold on, I want to see if I have a working system. I'm not developer, hold on. Let me skip that, I'll come back to it for a second. Andy, you want to talk about pull from source for Folsom? This was a background task that it's done because we did a spin of it. We put it out in, and we've talked about it a bit, but it's worth discussing just a little. No, it's what the point here is that this is going to be the basis for our Grizzly pull from source, which is also progressing, and the pattern of having a get bar clamp and then pulling it has been stable, and this is actually, we're not promoting it very heavily in the community, but it is there, and it's getting a little bit of use. So if somebody wants to check things out of where we're going with this, that's a good place to go. And it was also good. I'm not going to be able to demo the dev view from this view. It looks like I need to write some BDD tests to ensure that changes don't break it. It was working. I'm going to pull it to accept it, and then I'm going to put in some tests that check it. Basically, this is a dev-only view, and the idea is that it shows you all of the dependencies from the bar clamp down, so that we can quickly troubleshoot what belongs to what. And so, since we're changing the models and we're living sort of in these two worlds, it's useful to see, okay, these things are in proposals, these things are in Node, or in configurations and drill down from there. So right. Yes, that's exactly why I added it, and I added a card to it after the fact because I felt like it was worth exposing that we'd added the screen so people would be aware of it. Right. What I don't expect people to not do things that are useful to their process. What I do expect is that if you do something, then we'll bubble it up. Um, if it's a major piece of work, then that I would have expected that to be discussed and brought into the sprint, and we'd put it in the backlog and have designs on it. If you're just adding functionality that's helpful, this is our way to say, hey, I surfaced something that was useful. Did that answer your question, Andy? So we had a major milestone with test pass success. I know we're still tweaking Travis and trying to figure out what that is. We'll keep on that. But we did get to a point where not only are our tests passing, but we're actually doing that validation on all the pull requests as they come in and then reporting that status. So I feel like that's a major milestone for our process and our automated stuff. We did have Travis passing consistently. Do you guys want to move this into accepted or move it back into doing? So Adam, what are you thinking? Do you want to go ahead? Do you want to move it back? You want to leave it in done, or do you want to accept it and just assume we're going to get fix whatever the it's almost, yeah, it's almost be a defect. Let's see. So this one goes back to doing. Where'd the other one go? Oh, this is, I did that. Yeah, thank you. Okay. So CMDB credentials into model. This is related to the work that Andy did on the externalizing the jig. Andy, unless you want to add to it, I'm going to assume that that's included in your last review. And then network bar clamp locking for allocate IP address. Chris is on. Do you want to take a brief second and talk about what this has been? So, and as an important, go ahead, Andy. Cool, thank you. The note that I wanted to add was just that we're using the network bar clamp, which is probably the most sophisticated bar clamp. That's not true. It's one of the most sophisticated bar clamps to prove out a lot of the other model concepts, like attributes and how we're storing data, and how bar clamps can store their own data and things like that. So this has been a really good place for us to sort of test out concepts, and so it's important to realize that that's part of the motivation on how we work on the network bar clamp. Okay. With that, we can review. Why don't we review the doing a little bit as part of the review, then pause for process discussion, and then get into the next. What? Yeah, Andy? Oh, that's... Oh, hey.
I talked to him. He was awake. I'll go tell him.
We certainly can. I don't think we're going to have time in this meeting to do it, because the Dell people have a hard stop at the top of the hour. I think it's an appropriate activity. I'm not trying to stop that. I just think it of itself is probably going to take an hour. Good question. Good. Okay, so in the doing cards, we still have a lot. So the database model import inbound into Chef is effectively complete from the data perspective. But what we haven't done is actually brought in a CMDB run. So I've been holding this story for that. So I'm actually going to move this into blocked because there's another card that this is waiting for in order to complete, and that's this card, which is the report handler pieces. So Judd, unfortunately, was out of work for a couple days, so we're just a couple days behind on this, and that's what's happened. This is also tied into some of the changes that Andy was talking about with making Chef standalone. Okay, we just moved this one into here. Updating the user docs is something that we have our team in India doing, and they're making progress. I have a draft that's being reviewed by Wayne, and we're waiting to see that one come through. Wayne, are you on? I don't see him. We'll see if we can circulate a link to the draft documents, but that is an ongoing work. It's almost background. List and detail network objects has been some UI work around getting these things rendered. The person who go ahead. Oh, good, you're on. Cool. I was worried you'd be out. That's great. Okay. Cool. So let's. Excellent. What I'll do is I'm going to leave them in done, and then we can do accepted for him in the next review, and maybe do a quick tour. That's awesome. Okay, so that's good. And then so we'll talk through and what's next in that front when we get to the bottom half of the sprint plan. This work is basically what I was alluding to, where we're using the network bar clamp to store information. We're using the new attributes features to store information for the network bar clamp. So this work made some progress. It actually drove a whole bunch of changes in the model to simplify the model, and so this is still in progress. Chris, unless you want to. No, that's the cool thing is I think we've got some really good models with how this is being done to allow some hybriding between sort of dumb attributes and smart attributes, meaning that the network, that the bar clamps can choose to have their own storage mechanisms behind a bar clamp if they want to, or they can just use the default ones. And this is sort of driving that, and I think it's going to make a very powerful system for us. That in itself, this is something we plan to review in a design meeting because it's pretty complex. Because it involves subclassing. And this, Adam, you guys want to talk about this? Cool. I'm looking forward to seeing that. Okay. And then for the blocked cards, this is still And you want to talk through, while you have the floor, the Crowbar 2 installation? This was the subject of our design meeting. Yep. My thought is that this is actually one of the top priorities for the sprint. It's yeah. My good. No, docs is done by the bar clamp. Yeah, docs is done in the bar clamp install. Yeah, Andy's been discovering some of the challenges of Crowbar 1 and definitively deciding that we need some fixes in Crowbar 2. I'm sorry for your battle scars. Yeah. Yeah. But this is going to be one of our major focuses for the coming sprint. So breaking into without going into the details, breaking it into packaging and getting it going. Victor will be focused on that. It impacts Andy's work directly. It's going to be a major component for us. So I'm moving it into doing. Yeah, Adam. We're definitely going to be pulling pieces apart, right? The chef server and pieces. Sorry, the Crowbar server and pieces are going to need to be up, and then how the install actually goes through and creates proposals and things like that will be done. Will still need to be done, but probably not just directly through Chef. But we'll set up the proposals as part of the default, and then let Crowbar do what it's supposed to do, orchestrating through pushing Chef. Right. Well, a lot of those should be managed by the bar clamps that set them up, right? Because we don't want to. The bar clamps are the ones that need to make the decisions on where the services are deployed. So in a practical sense, maybe not short term, but where we'd like to be in the midterm is that you could actually change those locations and tweak them before the installs actually get set up. So what that we want, those things would be set up by and they currently are set up by each bar clamp. So NTP, TFTP, each one of those provisioner would set up what it needs to do provisioning. Right, deployer needs to put its images in place and manage DHCP. All those pieces need to be managed by the bar clamps that do that work. So, and they currently are. So what's happening behind the scenes is just that we're creating all the proposals to go set those things up, and then working through the state machine. And so, with exactly right. Right. So but the code changes are that we're going to have to be change. We're going to have to change the proposal flow to configurations and change. And how those things are registered, how the data gets into the bar clamps. All of which, it's the changes are steps. They're not rewrites. Today there's a automatic wiring of those proposals going in and installing themselves during install, and so for now we're gonna respect that the same thing, that those proposals install themselves, they add dependencies and automatic behavior. Oh, I don't think. Okay. No,
Yeah? Alright, wait, I make it Alex's shoes on. Let me say goodbye to you at the door. I'm sorry, my darling. Wait.
That's that's
Alex,
that's
you're
exactly
on
what we
the
were
table.
expecting to go through. That you guys would work one-on-one with Victor, to work through what these issues are, get these questions addressed, and keep moving. With the final, and I guess these are great questions, and we need to, it's appropriate to have additional sessions and one-on-one, um, to just work through the design and get that going. The ultimate result would be the package would lay down. I think it's similar to what you guys already do. It's just adjusting it slightly. Lay down the files, call bar clamp install, which would then hand off the chef, uploading to chef and doing the things to make sure that the Crowbar registration was complete, and then setting the proposals to make things go if that's the appropriate default behavior. That was my thought, and that's sort of what I've been trying to do, is use the Etherpads for the active meetings and then slide them over to the wiki as soon as they've stabled, so we can deal with collaborative editing. Yeah, do you see the one I created? Sorry, I just created one called Install Design. I completely agree. I prefer the single purpose Etherpads. No worries. All right, so that I've backed that one, and this is good conversation, because this is the heart of the work, right? That a majority of the team's going to be pulled into and focused on, and so. And we don't have Victor on the line, but I've already talked to him, and this is going to be his focus in the coming sprint. License docs, we're still working through a contract and lawyers to produce this information. 1.9, I really want to see this get done. We've made this a higher priority, but I've got some people freeing up from my team that might be able to take this on. If you guys have somebody or know somebody who can test this on the rel side, it's entirely. I'm going to fix this card because it's not. Please do. I'll happily accept it. Oh goodness. Okay. Okay. Thank you for pointing that out. And then models. I talked about this one. This one, just the last step is blocked on other work. Okay. We're almost out of time. I was gonna, from a process perspective, we're having trouble with Join Me internally, and we'd like to move to Google Hangouts, which integrate with the calendar. So I was going to make a suggestion that our next this sprint readiness review meeting, Simon, that you're setting up, can we do it on Google? Yeah. Right. And so we'll use the Join Me as a backup just in case, but the plan is to test the Google Hangouts. Cool. And along the same lines, I'll probably see if we can use Google Docs and start a transition for Google Docs, because the Etherpad often has, we seem to have connection issues with it, so we'll have to test it inside Delph's firewall and things like that. Are there other process issues that people want to raise? We only have 5 minutes left to go through backlog, which doesn't seem sufficient to me. And if we're going to have a sprint readiness meeting, we probably should plan for that to consume things. Most of the cards in here are ongoing work. Model redesign, inbound, outbound path, and the networking bar clamps are all occupying our team. The one thing that I would note that's not showing up here is obviously, and we need to address that, is the engines migration. Let's see. And so the engines, we are working towards the engines migration, and you'll start seeing those changes come through in some of the peripheral bar clamps. And I'm hoping we'll get that complete this sprint, although it's going to impact work in progress in network and Crowbar, so it'll impact things. So, that once again is its own topic. And so we'll have a design meeting on that, help people familiarize with that. Adam, Susa, do you guys want a 2-minute summary of priorities for the sprint for you guys? We're still working towards who can or will go to Nuremberg. So hopefully we'll have details on that for you. That's in March. Simon, did you want to very briefly talk about the homepage or wiki? Cool. Good. Do you want to switch either of these to doing? Simon? Do you want to switch? I was going to say, should we switch these cards into the doing class? Yeah. Yeah, and you, even in the office, you should be able to use the web. You just can't present for Join Me. But, all right. Let's see. I think that positions us so at least we all know what we're working on for this sprint, and then we'll have a much more focused review of the general backlog, which I think is appropriate. Cool. That's Judd. All right. Hey guys, this has been really good. I hope we've got the right balance of synchronous and asynchronous. I know Victor's the king of sending out long descriptions on email, which hopefully help with this process. And I typically am the king of the interactive online meeting with recordings. So between the two of us, you get the full spectrum. I appreciate that comment. I agree with it. I will relay and continue to reinforce that point. What he's writing should be in the docs directory in the Crowbar. We have places in docs now to accommodate that information. So you are entirely right. And yes, maybe I'll cut this snippet out and post that by itself. But yes, we should all continue to do that. And if you see that not happening, I would encourage you to add it to the docs, do a pull, and recycle to the list the link with the location as a gentle hint that's actually documentation. That's been my pattern on Team Wikis. I do that. Sometimes it works, and sometimes you just end up pasting a lot of links. But good, well noted, Adam. Thank you. We need to jump. Everybody, thanks. Good week. I'll talk to y'all in a little bit.